News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
A $30,000 warrant issued on a rape charge. Good morning, everyone. It's Montana Morning. It's Thursday, March 3rd, 2016. Skies cloudy. It's 30 degrees in Missoula right now. Our newscast this morning sponsored by Bull's Eyewear. They offer some of the lowest prices in town on contact lenses. See Lynette at Bull's Eyewear, 2910 South Reserve. A $30,000 warrant has been issued for Jordan Barr by the Missoula County Attorney's Office for an alleged rape that occurred in October of last year. Deputy Missoula County Attorney Jennifer Clark described the circumstances that led to the charge of felony sexual intercourse without consent.
In October of last year, Jane Doe was out with some friends. One of those people was Jordan Barr. The individuals had all been drinking. On the way home, she had stopped at his house because she had had too much to drink to continue. While she was at his house, he raped her.
Clark said authorities are searching for Barr's whereabouts so that the warrant can be served.
It's believed that he's out of state, and once he's located, he will be brought back to Missoula to enter a plea to these charges. The penalties that he is facing is not less than 2 years at the Montana State Prison or more than 100 years and a $50,000 fine.
Court documents state the Missoula police had interviewed Barr about the incident, but he left the area before charges could be filed and an arrest could be made. A Montana man testified that his neighbor had been acting erratically and was following him and his frightened wife through their rural subdivision in the minutes before he shot the man in self-defense. The defense rested yesterday in the deliberate homicide trial of Joe Campbell. Campbell is charged with killing Tim Newman on October 18, 2013, near a gate on Campbell's property southwest of Augusta. Campbell testified that he had rescinded Newman's permission to cross his property in May of 2013 after Newman started cutting locks on gates in the area. Campbell said his final confrontation with Newman ended when Newman pointed a gun at him and mumbled to himself, "Shoot him first, then cut the lock." Prosecutors questioned Campbell about inconsistencies in his statements to investigators. District Judge Jeffrey Sherlock said jurors would hear closing arguments this morning. A Billings man has been sentenced to 80 years in prison for shooting another man to death during an argument in April. The Billings Gazette reports 33-year-old Joseph Richard Polak II was convicted of deliberate homicide in November. He was sentenced earlier this week in the death of 29-year-old Scott Marshall Hofferber. According to court records, Polak and Hofferber had planned to fight each other, but as Hofferber handed Polak a nail puller, Polak pulled out a gun and shot Hofferber in the chest. Polak's attorneys argued their client was acting in self-defense. In January, the city of Missoula approved the sale of $7 million in bonds to help with the redevelopment of Southgate Mall. One of the biggest undertakings in the project is turning Mary Avenue into a through street. However, current Mary Street property owners like Steve Anderson are worried about that plan.
My problem is pushing it through to the mall and bringing all that traffic down Mary. They say there's about 300 cars that come down Mary now, and I live right at the end of Mary. Down where I live, I'm lucky if I see 2 or 3 cars a week. And then they're talking about 3,000 to 4,000 cars once they push it through, and I think it's going to be more than that.
Mary Street homeowner John Lewing said the city and the mall have not communicated well with local property owners.
It's frustrating because we're the last to know, but we're the most impacted. There needs to be a lot of communication, specifically what they're doing, how they're doing it, and when they're doing it. Secondly, it would be great if we could figure out a common ground for some sort of compensation for what we're losing and what we're giving up. I just want to raise my kids in peace. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Many property owners indicated they felt the new street would severely hurt the resale value of their homes and limit parking. Some were hopeful the city might rezone the area and allow commercial properties, which could make it easier for property owners to sell. 3 students in Belgrade middle high schools have been diagnosed with the mumps, a viral disease that causes swelling in the salivary glands. While students have significant protection against the mumps because immunizations are required under state law, the Gallatin City County Health Department is working to identify students who may have been exposed to the ill students. The disease is spread by saliva or mucus droplets. Speaking of schools, elementary schools here in Missoula at both Franklin and Lowell will be moved to alternate buildings in the 2016 and 17 school year, so construction can begin on new or remodeled facilities. MCPS Public Information Director Hatton Littman said the 2 schools face the most urgent need for new or updated buildings.
Students who attend attend Franklin Elementary normally will be redirected to Jefferson Elementary next school year, and students who attend Lowell Elementary normally will be redirected to Mount Jumbo Elementary. That will only be the case for next school year while those two schools are under construction.
Lippman said the two schools are not currently being used as elementary schools. Jefferson hasn't been an elementary school for many years.
While we're preparing the classrooms and making space up to date for elementary students to move in, they don't currently have elementary students attending there. In fact, right now it's being used for our preschool and our fine arts staff. It just happens to be called Jefferson Elementary because that was how it was constructed when it first opened. Mount Jumbo Elementary is not currently functioning as an elementary school either. Mount Jumbo is in East Missoula, and right now it's being leased to an out-of-state college program that has an off-site satellite location there.
In addition, Littman said March 7th marks the start date for kindergarten registration for the fall of 2016. A judge has allowed a former Gallatin County Sheriff's deputy to be reinstated after finding that Sheriff Brian Gutkin wrongfully fired him in 2014. Bozeman Daily Chronicle reports the judge ruled Wednesday that David Johnston can be reinstated and awarded damages for lost wages, which Johnston's attorney says is at least $126,000. Johnston was fired after Sheriff's Office administrators say he refused to immediately turn over a tape recorder that had an audio of an interaction between Johnston and his ex-girlfriend, Deputy Kelly Munter. Johnston claims Munter had berated him while they responded to a call together. Johnston sought advice from an attorney and made a copy of the audio before eventually returning the recorder. The judge says Johnston's short delay in returning the device did not constitute his firing. On Monday, Senator Steve Daines went to Cuba to visit the detention facility at Guantanamo Bay. Upon Daines' return, he took to the Senate floor to state the importance of maintaining the detention center and not bringing detainees to American communities.
Guantanamo Bay was a humble reminder of the services our military provides overseas to get these terrorists off the battlefield and ensure they don't end up in Americans' backyards. President Obama has signed multiple pieces of legislation into law that explicitly prohibit the transfer of enemy combatants.
During the speech, Daines highlighted the threat posed by the particular type of prisoners held in Gitmo.
Among those being held are detainees like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is just part of the 9/11-5 that are currently detained in Guantanamo Bay that allegedly masterminded and facilitated the 9/11 terror attacks on our country.
Montana has a closer connection to Guantanamo Bay than many might think. Back in 2009, Hardin, Montana, offered to take in suspected terrorists from Guantanamo Bay out of desperation to fill an empty $27 million jail. News Talk Time, 6:12.
News Talk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Mostly cloudy skies today with valley rain and mountain snow. High temperatures will top out close to the 50-degree mark. Tonight, isolated showers, otherwise freezing fog. Ample sunshine Friday with highs in the low 50s. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for KECI 13.